collaboration with the Cyprus Mail. This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
Coming up this week, the 2016 Women's Film Week.
This year the program is concentrated on successful women's stories.
Clean tech gets launched with this year's Climate Launchpad.
There were also a couple of other startups who attracted serious interest from corporate investors, and they are now working into establishing a collaboration where they will further develop and test their prototypes.
And we'll look in depth at the story of the carob in Cyprus and plans to revitalise the industry.
Carob is also used as a substitute for chocolate. And we know that there will be a shortage of cacao in 2 or 3 years worldwide.
Tuesday, March the 8th, is International Women's Day, so it seems appropriate that the night before, on Monday, at the Goethe Institute in Nicosia's buffer zone, there will be the opening ceremony for the 2016 Women's Film Week. It's not the first time it's happened. It's organised by the UNDP in Cyprus, and their programme manager is Tiziana Zenaro. Tiziana, how long has this actually been going? I seem to recall at least one previous or two.
Two previous. This is the third edition. We started in 2014, and since it was quite successful, we replicate last year and this year.
When you say Women's Film Week, what do you mean? Films made by women? Films about women, or what?
Films about women's stories. This year, the program is concentrated on successful women's stories. The previous year, we focused on domestic violence, women issues. So we want to give this year more a positive spin to the film week. Yes.
So what sort of films have you got lined up? Because some of them are quite short, so there are several in an evening, and others are longer. So tell us how it's going to work.
Yes, we start on the 7th with the opening, and the opening film is The Help. And on that day, there will be only one film. During the week, we will alternate 2 and 3 films, depends on the day, because we have also panel discussions. So on that day, we have only 2 films. And what is really successful, that all these films are coming from different countries. So we have films from Brazil, from Italy, from Spain, from Portugal, Israel, Germany, France, Sweden, Finland, UK, Netherlands, and Slovenia, and The Help is from US. So,
we should emphasise that all the films will be shown in their original language, but they do have English subtitles.
Yes, they do have English subtitles, all of them. We encourage both communities to join us during the film week. And this is why we have selected the Goethe Institute as our partner, because it's located in the buffer zone, so for both communities to join us.
Do you get feedback from people after this? I know you do at the discussion evenings, because last year's discussion evening was very lively. What are you going to be discussing this week, and what sort of feedback do you get?
Okay, what I can say that what was really successful the previous year, that people are asking us, you will have again this film week next year, and approaching this month, they are keep asking. So what we can also say that the participation was quite high in the previous years, around 700 people for the entire week. And this year, the debate is led by UNHCR. And maybe Martina, she can say more on this debate.
Okay, so Martina, you're also with the UNDP. The debate, presumably because of the refugee crisis, is dealing exactly with what?
Yes, exactly. The debate is being organized by the UNHCR, so it's their day within the film week. And they specifically wanted to have a day dedicated with women refugees. So the documentary is a short 15 minutes documentary by UNHCR, produced by them. And it's about a Syrian family, and the story is told through the mother. It's the story of their journey out of Syria, and I'm not going to say the story now because it's very short, 15 minutes, and it will be followed by a panel discussion with the UNHCR as a moderator. So I think it will be very interesting and very contemporary to the issues.
And that's taking place when?
It's on Wednesday, 9th of March at 6 p.m.
Tiziana, I think for the first time, because of its success previous years in Nicosia, you're going to branch out and take it to Famagusta and to Larnaca.
Yes, this year we succeed also to organize the film week in Larnaca and Famagusta. Larnaca will be at the Larnaca House of Arts, and we are in partnership with the Larnaca Cinema Society. In Famagusta, we have organized the Banda Buglia in partnership with Magem, which is a youth organization. The film week here will have a shorter program. We will start on the 7th in Famagusta and on the 9th in Larnaca.
So are the films different that you're showing in Larnaca and Famagusta,
No.
or you're just doing, in a sense, a circuit?
Yes, they are the same as circuit. They are also shown in Nicosia.
And how did you choose the films?
We received this film from our partners, from embassies and cultural institutions, and we received 25 titles, films, and we selected 14. So in total we are showing 14 films. This is the maximum we can do within the time line we have.
Right, now the whole programme presumably is available for people to find online. Where should they go? Because not everybody can come, obviously, to every night.
Absolutely. The program is available on our website, which is www.cy.undp.org. We also have a Facebook event page, UNDP Partnership for the Future. If you put on Facebook, you can find us there. And we are promoting it through our Twitter accounts, which is at UNDP_PFF.
Tiziana Zenaro and Martina Zaccaro from the UNDP, talking there about 2016 Women's Film Week.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
The Climate Launchpad 2016 is ready for the off. It will have its official launch on March the 10th. Joining us this week, Stelios Prokopiou, who's the director of Chrysalis Leap, and Fani Hajifani, who's the project coordinator. Fani, tell us first of all about the history, if you will, of the Climate Launchpad and what it aims to do.
So Climate Launchpad is an initiative of Climate Kick, and its aim is to unlock clean tech ideas in Europe, and it brings ideas to life.
If I may add, it's an idea, it's a business idea competition for very early startups, and its aim is to, as they call it, tackle climate change and provide young and aspiring entrepreneurs with the tools they need to convert their ideas into viable businesses.
How long has this been running now in Cyprus? It's several years.
It's the third year in a row.
If you look back over the past years, give us a little bit of an insight into the sort of ideas that came up and what happened to the people who had those ideas, because the competition progresses, and you'll tell us how in a minute, but some of them have been very successful, some of them presumably not quite so much.
Actually, this is the case most of the times that most startups fail. In our case, we have been lucky, if I can say, to have quite a few success stories over the last 3 years. 6 teams of young entrepreneurs that were trained by Chrysalis Leap as part of the Climate Launchpad program were able to secure a position either in the accelerator program of Climate Kick itself or other European accelerators, and receive funding in excess of 450,000 euros without giving up any equity at this stage. There were also a couple of other startups who attracted serious interest from corporate investors, and they are now working into establishing a collaboration where they will further develop and test their prototypes. So we can say that over the last 3 years, there have been quite a few successes, and we have to point out that clean tech is one of the most difficult segments to materialize, to transform an idea into a business, because they have a very high technological risk. It's not so simple as writing an app and taking it online. There is a lot of R&D, prototyping, testing, developing, so it's a much more difficult and lengthy process.
And let's talk about the process a little bit, Fanny. As project coordinator, tell us how the whole thing evolves. You're going to be starting it off this year on March the 10th. What happens on March the 10th?
So we have our big launch event on the 10th of March. It's at 6:30 at Pantheon Cinema, where we will also show a documentary of last year's startups and their journey leading up to the European final in Amsterdam, some of their success and failures. We will have the CEO of Desolinator, a promising startup of 2015, give a presentation. And then we will also describe the details of this year's project. So we begin with Climate Launchpad 216. We will open our applications. We will have until the end of May. This will run at the same time in parallel in Greece and in Cyprus. Applications open. We receive our applications. We have a screening process, and we will select the top startups from both Greece and Cyprus, and we will run the program in both countries, where the teams will receive a 2-day intensive boot camp, training, mentoring by our coaches, and staff of our sponsors are also involved in this process. Follow-up coaching sessions to perfect their business idea, their pitching, and then we have the national finals, where all the teams will present their idea before a renowned jury. And the top 3 go to the European finals in Tallinn in Estonia this October, where they will present their idea amongst all the European startups from the 25 participating countries that are taking part in Climate Launchpad this year.
Is there a limit to the number of people and applications you can accept?
There is no limit to the number of applications, to the number of people that can apply, but there is an indicative, if we can call it that way, number of teams that can participate, will be selected to participate in the boot camps and the subsequent coaching session, and this is 10 teams per country. So out of the total number of applications that we will receive, through our screening process, we will select the most promising 10.
How many do you normally get in terms of
more than 80 in 2 countries, in both countries. Last year we had more than 80.
What happens to those who don't make it through the screening process? Do you encourage them to fine-tune a bit and come back next year?
Exactly. This is what we do, and we always keep in touch, and we guide them through the process of rethinking, refining their idea, and they're always welcome to apply in next year's program, or we can guide them and connect them to other accelerator programs in Europe, so that they can, it's part of the experience, so they can apply there as well.
So it's not just a question of having a good idea and getting help to see it through to possible launch as a product. There's a lot that can be learned along the way, even if you fail to make the cut.
Especially if you fail, because it's a first attempt in learning, fail. So the knowledge they get, all these tools, they are with them to stay. It's a lifetime experience. And it may not work this time, but they improve as entrepreneurs, as individuals, and they can pursue their next idea.
So if people have got a clean tech idea, what should they do?
Should apply to Climate Launchpad.
So does that mean they have to turn up on March the 10th, or if people can't actually make it physically, is there an online application? How else do they go about it?
Yes, all the information will be available on our website, and there will be a Climate Launchpad website, so they can stay tuned. They can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and the online application will be accessible and available, and they can start applying.
But obviously, I presume you'd prefer them, if they can, to come and meet the teams and get in touch with people, because this is as much about networking as anything else.
Exactly, and a main part of the event of March the 10th is our alumni. Let's say startups who participated in previous year's programs, they will be there to share their experience, and they will be available for Q&A as well. So we invite everyone interested to come and talk to these people. There is a lot to learn.
They do, though, need to know the numbers for the launch on March the 10th. If you'd like to join them, contact Fanny. That's PHANI at chrysalisleap.com. And that's all happening at the Pantheon Cinema at 6:30 on March the 10th, right here in Nicosia. Climate Launchpad 2016.
You can subscribe to the Cyprus News Digest on iTunes for free and get the program downloaded to your phone or tablet so you can listen anytime, anywhere.
Anyone familiar with the geography of Cyprus has probably been well aware that for thousands and thousands of years we have had carob trees dotted around the landscape. Many of them have somehow disappeared. Well, the University of Cyprus, along with farmers and scientists, are cultivating 40,000 carob trees, which have just been planted and will be planted out once the seedlings have actually grown big enough. Joining us on the programme this week is Professor Antonis Kakas from the University of Cyprus, who is one of the coordinators of this really exciting venture to cultivate 40,000 carob trees here in Cyprus. First of all, for people who aren't familiar, carobs for years were a hugely important product for Cyprus, weren't they? They were used in things like making film, I seem to recall, but what else were they used for?
Well, it's sufficient to say that it was characterized as the black gold of Cyprus, or Mavros Chrysos. Yes, it was a very important part of life that would not only give the locals some of the things they needed, but also for export. You will see dotted along Cyprus the warehouses where people used to keep the harvest of carobs, normally by the sea, because then they were transported by ships, most of the times to Zigi, and from there abroad. So it was black gold of Cyprus, because it had all these uses that you could not get from other materials.
Let's talk about some of the uses, because I mentioned film, and of course that probably is not so important these days because there aren't so many people taking photos with the old-fashioned film. But I mean, it's also got medicinal qualities, hasn't it? And it was used as a foodstuff.
The important thing is that we know that today the market for carob-based products is increasing very fast, and these are products which are in the general sectors, the biological food, the gluten-free, pharmaceutical, cosmetics, and others. Now, in our effort here, we are basing the whole effort on the scientific study of carob, and in particular the Cypriot varieties, so that we can find out these secrets of the black gold that will give us an advantage in developing new novel products for the international market.
And you've found two already, I think, haven't you? One is a bread. I mean, it says that you're going to launch two new products. One, a drink much like Zivania, and another one, a bread made from carob powder. Now, you mentioned gluten-free. That's surely important.
Yeah, the second one, the bread, you will find already all over the world, these type of things. We are experimenting with that, and we're also experimenting with the Charalambous Zivano. This is the name we gave, initial name, I'm not sure whether we'll keep it, to the spirit made out of carob. We're not sure whether this will be one of the final products that we'll be promoting. We have other ones which are kind of kept secret at the moment, because, as you appreciate, the international market. So what is important about this initiative is two things. First, that we want to re-energize, as you said in your introduction, we want to re-energize the carob plantation in Cyprus. We want to bring it back to its original dimension, if you like, scale, as it was before the invasion, and even surpass that. But secondly, we would not want to basically produce carobs and sell carob, the actual carob itself. We want to develop what we might call the industry and the economic sector of carob in Cyprus by joining in with this scientific analysis hand in hand with the tradition that we have.
And that will give us a chance for economic growth as well, won't it? Because if you're going to introduce new, if you like, industries, however small they may be, to actually process the raw material rather than just export it as is, that's going to be huge for the economy of Cyprus.
Yeah, that is the bet. That is exactly what we want. Now, if it's going to be huge, I don't know. What we know and what we kind of gives us confidence is that, as I said earlier on, there is a growing market for this type of foods. For example, and that's another little example, carob is also used as a substitute for chocolate. And we know that there will be a shortage of cacao in 2 or 3 years worldwide. So that's another kind of thing that we might explore. The point is that it has these good qualities in the sectors that I mentioned. These sectors are growing internationally, so therefore, in some sense, we cannot go wrong. But we have to actually do it. What we want to do is we're going to set our own forest of 40,000 trees, but at the same time, we want to encourage all the other farmers or anyone who has a small piece of land to join the effort by cultivating either new plants themselves or by taking care of the old plants and passing through a process that we will be defining so that their product can be certified as of certain quality and of certain type so that it can be used in these second and third stages we mentioned, processes of producing new products.
Carob trees live a long, long time, don't they? I mean, I've seen some huge old trees, but I think I'm right in saying that in some areas there is a problem. Is it with rats?
Yes. The main enemy of the carob tree is the rat, and as normal, human beings.
Yeah, because it's used as a firewood here as well,
what's happening lately, as you mentioned, many people have cut them down and used them as to make charcoal. Now, in terms for the rat, again, in our plantation, we need to address this issue in a biological way.
And there is a method. I read something recently about putting, is it a metal pipe round the trunks?
There are several methods. The main method is protecting, because the rat actually doesn't, it's dangerous because it doesn't eat the actual fruit, let's say, but it actually eats the bark of the tree.
And kills it.
So one way that you can do it is you can just protect by some kind of, as you say, metal protection around the initial stem so that the rat cannot go up. The other way, and you can use a combination of two, is to use wild birds, which prey birds, grow them in your field so that they can actually feed on the rats and therefore...
And presumably snakes as well.
Maybe snakes as well, yeah. So basically the same way that Wimbledon has kept the grounds free from the pigeons by, I forget his name, was it Confucius? They've got
falcons.
The falcon, or something. I think there's only one. One falcon was enough to clear the whole thing.
Okay, so it's a very enlightened project, but what I love about it is the fact that it's bringing years and years of, thousands of years of history right up into modern times.
And this, you can't see this, your viewers can't see this, but this is basically the gist of what you're saying, that science comes and meets experience and tradition to bring the whole business, if you like, of carob into a new era.
And of course it will also help with reforestation and land degradation if you've got more trees. Yes. What's the reaction been in some of the sort of outlying villages where it was traditional? You used to see the guys with their sticks banging the carobs out of the trees, didn't you?
Yes, we used to do it ourselves as well as children. I remember when I was young, living in the village, the way I sometimes made my pocket money was to go around and collect carobs from the trees after the owners have collected their trees. These are called bongura in Cypriot dialect.
Scrumping.
Well, scrumping, yeah. But this was a kind of a tradition, an allowed thing, and this was the way of encouraging young children to get out and do things. So you were always allowed to go into a forest where it was clear that the owner had been and harvested. And, because of their color and because of the trees, there's always some left behind.
Just like olives.
Yes, and cut them and you take them. Now, in terms of, this is a very, very, very nice development, is that we have been trying to engage everybody who's interested in the carob. For example, we've engaged, there are co-ops, there are old companies that, sort of more or less stopped working with carob. There are people from the ministry who were involved and now they're retired but they want to come back. And there are young kind of farmers who are thinking of going into carobs again.
How long before you actually get your first harvest? When you've planted these 40,000, which I think are now just a few centimetres high.
Yeah.
How long have you got to wait before you can plant them out in your forest, and how long after that before you get your first harvest?
I'll answer that, but before that I'll finish answering the more important question, which is, have we had any response? We had a meeting on the 15th of February, an open meeting on the 15th of February, and we had about 100 people have turned up. And most of these were people that were related to carob or farmers that want to get related. And in my presentation, I mentioned that one of the main strengths of our project is the fact that there is general enthusiasm about the project by anyone who hears about it. Everybody, it's amazing. Everybody who hears about the project want to come and join our team and help us with whatever they think they can provide. So in fact, apart from our internal teams, our scientific team, our management team, from the university, from the chemistry department of the government, from the agricultural studies department again, we have now formed two other groups of people from these people who are interested. One smaller group who will bring in their old experience to come and join the scientific thing, and we have a general group as well that will be used as a kind of a second opinion council board to make sure we're taking the right decisions as we go along. And these people are happy to do because most people say because they love the carob tree, and others, of course, because they want to make sure that they can join the project in their plantations, or some companies, they want to cooperate in developing further as we said, the products. Now, in terms of time frame, yes, we are going to plant these trees in the forest that we're going to form next autumn. Then we're going to let them grow a little bit, and then we have to, and I don't know how to say the English word for this,
Graft.
Graft, yeah, so graft them into the varieties that we want.
How many varieties are there?
In Cyprus there are 3 varieties. There are 3 main varieties. But we are doing actually genetic tests at the moment to make sure that what we use is going to be the best possible choice that we can make given the information we have up to that point.
So after you've grafted, when do you get the harvest?
The first harvest will come in about 3 years after that. But we're going to reach our maximum capacity about 5 or 6 years after that.
And that will be just from your 40,000, but by the interest that you've already garnered from other sources, it could be that all over Cyprus, particularly in outlying village areas, we suddenly see carob trees springing up and people out there harvesting again.
We will have a protocol, we have a process and a protocol that we will give to people who are interested, and we'll say follow these steps. And then really you have become a partner in this effort. And to clarify, a partner not in the sense that you will grow carobs and you will sell to us. No, an equal partner. You grow carobs as we do, and if we manage to make these products and to have sales, we will all be selling to these factories, again, our own factories. We'll all be selling to this together to make things. So you will be making the profit. Not just selling the carrot, but you making the profit that comes from the product from your carobs. Okay, and you'll also be taking the same risk as we are in making those products. So these are the kind of relationship we want to have, which we think is a kind of a fair relationship rather than just let us buy your carob at a very reduced price and let's see what we can do with it. Let me just finish also by saying that apart from the forest, this place will also be used in many other different ways. It will have, for example, a park for children or school children to come and visit and find out how science and tradition come together. There will be a museum on natural plantation and things like this. We will be planting other things as well with our carobs. And there will also be a research lab for various different things, whether it's agricultural or whether it is, how to preserve the wildlife in Cyprus and things like this. So it will be a park as well as a kind of cultivation field for carobs.
It's going to turn around, I think, the view of people who aren't familiar with the history of the carob tree in Cyprus. We've been talking to Professor Antonis Kakas from the University of Cyprus about that plan for 40,000 carob trees, and doubtless many more as individuals come in and join what will be the black gold production of Cyprus. And that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. I hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.